This is the Sprinter Mom with Lashes On podcast.
Okay, after being a foster and adoptive mother for 12 years now, off and on, I've had some interesting things happen in the past. I used to blog about it, and I took that down because I didn't want anything to be used against me one day. And now I'm bringing it back to life, and I'm actually just speaking it out loud and sharing the stories. And I thought it would be really fun if I just shared some crazy things that have happened to me. So here we go, Sprinter Mom with Lashes On, sharing some history of stories and situations that were so crazy. And so the interesting thing is that I will still see on the foster care Facebook page that wild things still happen. Like when you call the hotline or call the state or are talking to a caseworker or whatever it may be, there are situations that happen to families that a regular family that doesn't foster or adopt would be like, what? Because you're in this weird place of the state being the guardian to the kids that you are helping to raise. And so you're like, it's kind of a co-parent situation, but one parent gets to clock out and you do not. So anyway, I just wanted to share a story. One of my first experiences being a foster mom. It was actually the second placement that we had. We had two boys placed in our house with our daughter, and I have lots of stories and things that happened with these two specifically, but one of the stories that I wanted to share, because I always tell myself, like, I never want to forget this, because this is how messy things can be and how sad things are sometimes when you have multiple entities trying to work out visits and the whatnot. But I would say, so we're going to call him Adam. So Adam and his brother were at a daycare down the street from my house. It was actually a 24-hour daycare, which is very interesting. And I remember thinking, that totally works for like the single moms who have to work nights. I get it. But I was also like, wow, that's interesting. But for the area of town that I was in, it kind of made sense. And so anyway, I got Adam and his brother set up at the DES qualifying daycare down the street from my house because my daughter at the time was 1 year old and I still wanted to have some individual time with her off and on. And Adam and his brother, Adam was at an age where he was easily in preschool or school. And then his brother wasn't quite at the school age yet. He was 2 years old. But 3 to 4 days a week, I was sending them there part day to go because the state was paying for it. It gave me and Brooklyn a small break while I was staying at home and Ryan was working. So one day I dropped Adam off and his brother. I signed him in. You know, it's very official. You have to sign them in, sign them out. You have your license if you're a new face, all the paperwork to say who can pick up, who can't, and the likes. And so for a kid in foster care, you have their foster placement as well as caseworkers and aides that can come and pick up the kids based off of if they have a visit or an appointment, or if they just need to be seen, the caseworker will go into their daycare or into their school to have a meeting with them or whatever it may be. And so anyway, this day, Adam was at school and I got a phone call that was a little bit frantic because I don't remember how it went down, but needless to say, the school called and was very much apologizing. And I didn't really get what was happening, but I drove up to the school and they're like, "We're so sorry. Adam was signed out today. And I'm like, signed out? And they said, yes, we apologize. He was signed out. He's not here. He had a visit. And I'm like, no, Adam didn't have a visit planned today. There was no visit. Yeah, Adam has a visit. And anyway, someone from the state came and picked him up. So I find little brother. Little brother is there, but Adam is gone. And so I make a phone call to the caseworker. There was no visit set up. I have no idea what's happening. And come to find out that the aide who was picking up Adam for a visit with family picked up the wrong Adam. So this driver pulls in, has the licensing or the credentials to sign out a child from daycare, but they did not use the last name. Apparently, my Adam was at this daycare, but there was another Adam in foster care at this daycare. Different last names, same first name. So now my Adam gets put into a car with a strange child who they called was his younger brother or older brother, I want to say. It was a child who couldn't talk, and my Adam also couldn't talk. So here the driver is saying, oh, you guys are going to see your parents. What do you like to do? What's your favorite color? This and that. And you have two scared kids in the car who not only are not brothers, but they can't explain to you that they don't know each other. And they also are just hearing that you're taking them to see their parents. So it was a far drive. And at some point, they realized it was the wrong Adam. So my Adam, who's in the car, now they are turning around to drive him back to the school. This other child and the Adam they left at school, who was supposed to see his parents, was still at school. And now my Adam heard that he was going to go see mom and dad, but that wasn't actually true. And so I immediately withdrew them from the childcare place. I immediately called and reported the childcare place. And I also contacted our caseworker. But the interesting thing to me is that, again, there's so many moving parts. You have the aides, the drivers, parent aides, the caseworkers, sometimes a caseworker acting in the place of the caseworker. A new caseworker has taken over. And so they're trying to get to know the kids, all these different things. And then people forget that it's just children in a confusing situation, wanting to see their parents. There's multiple things that have to take place for them to have visits. And then things like this can happen where the visit is canceled, or you're promised a visit and it doesn't happen. Or apparently you can pick up a kid and not get their last name and put them in a car and take them. And they were the same race, which no one should mistake this at all. Again, I reported the childcare place because I thought, how in the world do you send two boys who workers know are not related on a visit to meet parents? And so, yeah, it was a very interesting day for me. And it was very sad because when I got Adam back home and his brother, he cried a lot because he kept hearing that he was going on a visit to see parents. He couldn't communicate with the driver. He probably was terrified, sitting next to a stranger. And he spent almost an hour and a half in the car, halfway driving there till they realized they had the wrong kid and then turning around. And don't forget, now those parents were at an office somewhere waiting to see their two boys just to have the visit canceled because they had picked up one of the wrong kids. So I'm sure people were getting it from all sides. And I was too young at the time to really put up a fight. But that was just one of the experiences I had of the difficulties of having multiple people have to make arrangements to get visits. But miscommunication and just the unfortunate part of having all of these people connected to have a visit, or these kids, or pick up kids, or whatever it may be, like taxi service for kids that can't speak for themselves. It was just so sad. So yeah, my heart always really went out to parents when visits were canceled. And that's actually one of the ways that I got to meet my son Gavin's bio mom, is because I did a few visits with her. And when visits were canceled because transportation was messed up, I ended up meeting her at parks, because I just thought, if the whole goal of fostering is to reunify, we better get these visits right. And oftentimes they're very messy. They get canceled, they get changed. Someone can't make it. We've really learned to not say anything about a bio family until the moment of, because you just don't want to get any hopes up, and you don't want to take this complicated system and let the kid know any part of it. So we don't do that. We keep our mouths closed, we smile, and we try to bring as much peace to the home as possible. And we really just talk about visits or siblings or things like that when it's like legitimately happening.
Thanks for joining us today for the Sprinter Mom with Lashes On podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next week.